moving accounts out of county general, and then how we handle our grant monies.
Okay.
You think of anything else, Deb, that we were going to discuss
I
together?
think those were the two biggest issues that we wanted to discuss.
But we have like the home for the aged, the ambulance. Rural Fire wants to split out between Bird City and St. Francis. All of these things are going to have to be considered and taken into account of before we start working on budgets, because those budget things will have to be handled differently. So it would be nice if they could get here. That's why I've asked them to, I've been pushing them for a date because we know we need to talk about these before we start working on budget. We need to start working on budget right away. And something to consider about moving those out of the general this year versus next year. We have to weigh how it's going to affect the entity. Plus, it's going to have to weigh how it affects the county tax lid. So those are things that are really going to have to concentrate on. So anyway, that's all I really had. Thank you.
Okay. We're running ahead of schedule. Scott, do you want to go now?
Okay.
Okay, come on up, bud.
I just have a couple of questions.
Okay.
I've out campaigning. I've had people ask me these questions a lot, and I just didn't know how to answer them.
Okay.
On election day, when the votes are being counted, who's in there when they are counted?
Who is in there when they're doing
The supervising judge.
it? And who's that?
The Cinda Dankenbrink is here in St. Francis and Kanda in Bird City, and there's a supervising board that comes in here and counts the advance ballots. So,
Can anybody be in there, or just those people?
just those people.
Just those people.
They are appointed. They're volunteers, election workers, and they go in a room and they up at the church up there, they will go back in the Sunday school room. There will probably be 2 counting boards since this is a big election, and Cinda Dankenbrink supervises those, and they balance out counting the votes, and then they come back here and report the results, and then those results are reported to the Secretary of State by the end of the day.
Okay. And then what happens if a candidate wants a recount or the votes checked, or what happens in that situation?
Well, we would have to canvass the votes to verify what.
Right. This is the board.
Recount. He's talking to recount. We get the total numbers, and we just make sure that they line up.
We don't get to see all the take.
So he would have to disagree with our canvassing of the votes.
And then pause, just go back. Do you know how?
And Scott, I can actually email you some statutes and
Okay.
Secretary of State guidelines regarding that if you would just provide me your email address.
Okay.
I probably won't get those to you today, but I'll definitely get them to you within a couple of days.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Can I have you write down your email address for me? We'll get those to you.
Okay. That's all I had.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
And your main question is how to request a recount.
Yeah, if
Okay.
that ever comes up.
Okay.
All right, Carol, we're ready for you.
Oop, too many pages here. My paper clips were kind of small.
You hear this one for Deborah?
Yeah, that one. Yep. So I have a couple things. First, on the transportation grant is the next regional meeting is June 9th at 10 o'clock in Hayes. The travel's included in my budget and should be less than $500. Again, it's a required meeting that we attend to stay eligible for the grant. And then I had sent this out to Nicole for review. This is the official contract on the van, which we've already approved. So I just need signatures today.
And I've reviewed that and I have no legal concerns.
So I don't know if you guys want to take the time. There's 2 copies of it here that I can pass around. If you all want to review before Brett signs. Again, Nicole, look through it. Sorry, I didn't have 3 copies. They only need 2 signed, so.
Oh, I figured you didn't think I know how to read.
Here, go ahead.
That's why Nicole read it ahead of time. So,
Trying to save some trees using technology.
yes, trying. And if you have no issues, then we just need Brett to sign those. And Deb, I'll make sure I give you one of the official copies after I get them back from the state, because they'll have to sign their copies, and then they'll mail it back to us.
Okay.
So,
I had printed these off on the transportation grant. Do you need the?
that's actually what these are. That's
Oh.
the state copies. So they had actually sent them.
Okay.
I ended up not needing you to do that, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
So,
okay.
yeah, just shred that. Yeah.
On these shelters, what the cost would.
Yeah, we'll go over that in a minute,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm just looking ahead.
First, I just want to get
Right, that's.
that one
gotcha,
signed.
Gotcha.
That's every damn thing that you got before, isn't it?
Yeah, it's exactly the same agreement. Nothing's changed. It's just their official paperwork. So, okay. So if I can just get Brett's signature on those.
You guys okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
All right, good. Did I get me? I'll check the ones on that side.
Yep. Oh, there were 2 on that side. I think, maybe not. Nope, that's it.
I might get the official wording off at the top of that for the minutes.
Okay. I'll go in and take a copy
Okay.
for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. All righty. And the second matter is the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program for the tornado shelters in Bird City and St. Francis. Again, this is one that we had already submitted. We've already approved matching funds for. We applied first in a preliminary status to the state of Kansas, and the state of Kansas has to pick which programs that they're going to submit to FEMA. So they have approved our project to submit to FEMA. We still haven't been approved for any funds, but now we do the official application to the state of Kansas, which they add to their official packet that goes to FEMA for funding. So this would build a tornado shelter for a capacity of 47 people in Bird City and the same over here in St. Francis. Originally, we had been working with the assisted living people, and we were planning on making the one in St. Francis be a multi-purpose room as part of the assisted living. The architect, when he looked at the requirements, said it was going to be a major undertaking to redesign it, his original plans to include a shelter inside the assisted living facility. So they basically said they couldn't do it affordably. So we could do another shelter in St. Francis that's standalone, identical to the one in Bird City that we're proposing. And I talked with the city council of St. Francis, and they would propose to do it immediately behind the emergency building in St. Francis at the roadside park. That radius, because you have to consider a half-mile radius of that building, would cover about 3/8 of St. Francis. It would give us coverage for all of the motels and all of the highway businesses and the emergency personnel in the emergency building. I will say last week when we had the 3 tornado sirens, there were at least 12 of us in the emergency building during that, and we had no protection. We were basically standing close to the bathroom so we could run in the bathroom if we saw a tornado coming. And we could actually walk out the back building, go through the ditch to get to the shelter if we do put that one. So we were all a little nervous,
Right.
and especially since communication was down at the same time, so we were relying on visual reports.
We have a question. Yes,
I
ma'am.
have a question.
Uh-huh.
Carol, has the county's share of the funding for the transportation situation and the tornado shelter situation, has that been approved?
Yes, it
What
has.
will cost the county?
Yes, it has. It was approved last year, recorded in the minutes, and it has been
Okay.
budgeted for in 2016.
But if you don't know how much it's going to be costing, how
We did, actually. We had hard and fast numbers on both the transportation and these. And it's a cost share situation for both public transportation and for the safe room. We're cost sharing that with the cities, and we also have some private grant funding to help cover the remaining portion.
But I'm still a little confused. If you're having to redesign and so forth, how do you have firm numbers on what it will cost?
We actually have a bid, a standalone shelter bid price for the standalone unit.
Okay.
And so that amount would not exceed what has already been approved locally. And anything that we ever go above and beyond what the county has funded, has budgeted for, we go out and seek other private grant funds.
Okay, thank you.
And just so you know, the Bird City Century 2 Foundation has pledged funds for both programs. So,
Okay, you answered my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
okay. So that's where we are with the St. Francis one.
So basically, the email we got from John Grace is not putting a hink into this at all. It
No,
actually
it's
ends
not.
up almost being a better.
It's actually a
plan.
much better solution
Okay.
because by making it, once they said that they had to attach the senior living or the new assisted living facility with the Good Samaritan Society, the long-term skilled nursing, our capacity for that public shelter just exceeded. And we would have actually not been providing any benefit to the public because till they fill it with their staff and everyone up there, there wouldn't have been room. So by moving it to another location, it actually becomes a true community shelter again. The original vision was that you'd have the 8 people living there plus their nurse, and then you could open that up to the public. Well, you get all of the Good Sam staff in there. You've just exceeded capacity. So in this, and again, I forwarded the contractual part of this to Nicole. So she has reviewed this from a legal perspective.
And I have no legal concerns.
There is several parts of this that have to get signed. And we can walk through the contract last. Let me kind of walk you through the project and the design. So if you reference the part of the packet that has the pictures, the colored pictures on it to start with. And if anyone is interested, I can provide this. Just come up to the emergency building. So this is the proposed location for St. Francis. That is at the roadside park immediately behind the emergency services building on the south side. The access would be off of Quincy. They've actually given it a physical address. It's not on this sheet, but we got that from the appraiser's office. It would be 806 South Quincy. There is electrical and water and sewer already in that vicinity, so the city will not have to do a lot to hook that up. And it will be the city's responsibility to do the site preparation and to do the utility hookup into that. The second page is in Bird City. This is at 2nd Street and Bird Avenue. That's the emergency building on the corner, and the proposed safe room is immediately to the east of that building. And again, there's a water hookup, sewer access, and electrical hookup. Immediately to that, it will be the city's responsibility to do all that site prep and hookup. And their city councils met and approved that as well. The page after that is the bid, the least expensive bid that we saw. When we get closer to doing this, we'll have to go out for bid again. But this gave us a bid for the proposal. There were 2 bids. We had requested 5 bids. We only got 2 back. This one was half the cost of the other one. So this is the price per shelter. So the total per shelter is $52,453. And that is built to the FEMA 361 and ICC 500 requirements, which is we must do or we don't get the FEMA funding. FEMA, if we get the grant, would pay 75% of this. And we have a local match of 25%, of which we have matching funds secured from the Board of Commissioner already in our minutes and in the budget, both city councils and the Bird City Century 2 Foundation. And then the next pages are the architecture drawings for the proposed shelter. They're pretty technical. They're very small, hard to read. If you ever want the electronic copy, I've got the electronic copy of those. And again, as in any government grant, first you have to get bids and design plans to ask for the money, and then once you get the money, you go back and you rebid the project to make sure nothing's changed. So if we do have a difference in the final cost, we would seek private funding. We go probably to the Hansen Foundation or the St. Francis Community Foundation or Bird City Century 2. We wouldn't come back to the county for additional funding. And we haven't been given this money yet. We're just proposing. Any questions about the scope of the projects?
No.
Okay. So the application that we need to have signed, you all have a full copy of this. It's basically just outlining why we need it, and it's some agreements that we're going to follow the terms of the grant. We're going to follow FEMA's guidelines. Anything else that's pretty much it.
And it's very standard language. There wasn't anything unusual in it.
Okay. And then at the end of that agreement is the city of Bird City and the city of St. Francis will each have to adopt a safe room operations and maintenance plan. Basically, what this plan covers is the fact that they are going to make sure that the room gets unlocked when the sirens get set off. And actually, our procedures would be as soon as we go into a watch, the room would get unlocked, so we don't have to worry about somebody running there when there's a warning active. And then after the event is over, that they would go back and re-secure the facility. The city would actually be the one to go in and clean the building on a monthly basis, make sure they sweep bugs, and they would test flashlights, things like that. So each city council has gotten a copy of this. I actually have the one back that the city of Bird City has signed, so we need to sign that. And the city of St. Francis is still changing a couple names on theirs. So I just need to have your signatures on that too, Brett. So if you guys are good with it, everything that's in yellow here, I would need Brett's signature, and then where there's two colored tabs, one is for Mr. Radcliffe and one is for Mr. Gardner. So.
I don't have any questions.
Any problems with it?
No.
Do that. Just like saying you'll go over.
Is there one copy to keep in the file?
I will get you a copy after everything is signed because I've got to get Ryan's signatures too. So.
Okay.
What, this one? I think that's what you got to sign.
Oh, I've already did that.
Okay. You can pass it on to Cody.
You sign it, Rodney?
Okay.
Yeah, so
And whoops, Brett, did I get you? Yep, you got all those. And then I just wanted to do a quick update on grant efforts for the year. So this is as of January 1st to date. We've applied for $2.1 million in grant funds. We've received $777,445 in grant funds. And the matching funds that have been required on those grants have been $172,738, which is 22% of the total of grants received. The majority of those matching funds have come from other private grants. So there hasn't been that much of an impact on the tax dollars for that. We still have another $455,000 that we've applied for to date that are pending. And the matching funds that go with those pending grants would be $76,000. Everything that I submit are things that have been considered for our budget. So there shouldn't be anything new beyond. And hopefully we're in a cycle where the next year I'll plan with you again. Some of the big things, we had the Fish and Wildlife grant through Dave Fleming was the sponsor for that, to remove Russian olives from the South Fork and Republican River. We received $32,000. $5,000 of that was matching funds, which the commissioners did approve last year and budgeted for. We received a Kansas Community Development Block Grant for $126,000. We have an $85,000 match. That was budgeted for also and approved by the commissioners, and that's to replace our failing ambulance. We received $200,000 from the Department of Transportation towards new sidewalks and infrastructure in Bird City. The $50,000 matching funds was given by the Bird City Century 2 Foundation, so that is not a federal match for that, or a state match, or county match. We received the $62,000 for the transportation program. Matching funds for that are $27,517. That is split between the two cities and the county. We've received a grant for an infant hearing screener for the hospital with no matching funds. That was about $3,000. The infant warmer for the hospital for almost $16,000 with no matching funds. Midwest Energy provided us $550 to secure some of our technology at the Emergency Operations Center. The Hansen grant gave us just over $7,000 towards technology for the Emergency Operations Center, no matching funds. St. Francis Community Foundation gave us a projector, no matching funds. We received $15,663 from the Kansas Board of EMS for heart monitors, EKGs for the ambulances, and we had a $5,000 match that was budgeted for. In fact, we had budgeted $10,000. We only used half of that amount. The Hansen Foundation funded just over $3,000 for CPR training equipment, and there were no matching funds there. Walmart gave $1,000 for the food pantry with no matching funds. Hansen gave us $3,500 to insulate a building for the gymnastics program, no matching funds, and the $300,000 towards the City of St. Francis's swimming pool. They didn't require matching funds, however, the city has to fund that. So you could call that a match. That's kind of one of those. There wasn't a direct match for it. Things that are pending still, we have $11,000 out to get education material for the sheriff's office. We have a $121,000 grant for the clinic to provide salaries, actually, and there's no matching funds required for that. Our annual EMPG grant for emergency management, there's no technical match for that. It's an incentive grant as long as we meet all of our requirements. We're still waiting to get final approval on our safe rooms. There will be a local match, but it's all been budgeted for. I forgot to put that in there. We are still waiting to hear on the firefighters grant to see if they got their protective gear and equipment. There's a $5,000 match to a $91,000 grant, and that was budgeted as well. We are waiting to hear back from the Kansas Health Foundation for a $25,000 grant that does not require any matching funds, and that would be used to improve the trail at Keller's Pond. We applied for $41,000 from the Sunflower Foundation for that same project. It requires matching funds, but the matching funds will come from other grants. It will come from the St. Francis Health Foundation, and then the St. Francis Community Foundation has pledged $30,000 towards that project as well. We applied for $25,000 for USD 297 to get Chromebooks, and no matching funds for that. We also applied for an additional $7,600 from the Hansen Foundation for that same project, and then we're waiting to hear back on a $1,000 grant for the History Museum. So, any questions?
Not at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next month, this will be very critical because we'll take it into budget consideration for next year.
Right, and
So-
I will have another projection of projects that are on the table for next year.
Okay.
So, thank you.
How long are you going to be?
Hopefully not too long.
Okay, because Reed comes in at 10. Come on up. Oh, sorry. One good to
The first thing I wanted to talk to you about was I passed the information around about the current county incentives and ask you to review that so that if the the funding is not available for those incentives, that document needs to be changed. I don't know if you've had time to review that or not. Currently, to the best of my knowledge, Bird City does not offer any incentives. St. Francis does have incentives at this time. It's mostly on utilities. But just wanted you to review that and make sure that you're still on board for those things. I would kind of suggest that in that document, you state that these things might be available, that maybe you delete those. I kind of go on the theory that, if you don't ask, you don't get. So if somebody wants something, they need to come in and ask you. But I think we'd better maybe not have those suggestions in there.
I think I left mine in my office.
Okay, and I didn't have a copy here, so.
Okay, but I have looked at it.
And the other thing is the Rural Opportunity Zone, or better known as the ROS program, is up for renewal. And so need to know that if you want to do that. And I think there is a resolution that Deb has ready for that. Currently, in the past, you've had 5 people in that program that they're funded over a period of 5 years for $15,000. Half of that is matched by the state, so you pay the $7,500. 2 of the people on that list now have moved, and so we have 2 positions open. There are 2 approved on the waiting list. One of those people has moved, but one is still living here. And then there are several of those where the applications, for one reason or other, were denied. One was disqualified. There are 3 incomplete, and if those people are still living in the county, they would be qualified. But this program basically is for student loan forgiveness. It also has a part in there where if somebody moves from out of state, that there is an income tax waiver for a period of 5 years. I don't have any statistics on that. I may never have some because of the Privacy Act. But today it's just for you to decide if you want to continue this program for another 5 years.
We're looking at ways to cut taxes. I'm sorry, but I'll mention it. It's something we're going to have to start facing.
What is the overall cost on that?
It's $7,500 a year.
Yes, sir.
I agree with Mr. Redd, but I'm going to address this. I don't know the answer to what Miss or Mrs. Dog.
Mrs., yes.
I don't know the answer to this situation, but I'm going to address taxes and how countries fail when it's my turn.
I would say that, if no action is taken, then the state would probably go ahead and call the next person on the list. And I don't want that to happen if it's not going to be funded. So this is a time to decide if you want to continue the program for another 5 years or just let it go.
I'll make it simple. I'll make a motion we terminate the program at the end of this year, and if we have to do it now in writing, we do it now in writing.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed?
Can I make one comment?
Yes.
Those people that are enrolled, the year that they enrolled, the county does have a commitment to those individuals to finish out their contracts.
Right.
And so
That's fine.
you would
And-
know, but you're still going to have to allocate that money, even if you terminate this program, or what you just did.
Right.
The county is still obligated for, is it
For what,
2?
3?
Well, it was a total of 5 years. So
But depending on which year they
which year
enrolled.
they enrolled. And
Uh-huh.
you've got one of them enrolled in 12, one in 13, one in 13. These are all 12 and 13.
So in 2018, we'll be done with it. We'll have to just visit our budget for 17.
And then I would tell the state not to contact this next person on the list.
Can you get some figures of?
Yeah,
of
we'll need to
who
know
was
so we know
enrolled
how
and
to
the-
budget for the next 2
Yes.
years.
Okay. I can do that for you. The other thing is just that, let you know again, that Bike Across Kansas will be here this weekend, coming in. A few of them on Thursday. The majority of them coming on Friday. They do have a meeting at the high school at 8 o'clock. and their quiet time begins at 10, and they hope to be all on the road by no later than 9 o'clock on Saturday. We're going to have flyers around town. We've got several organizations that are going to do fundraising meals. The emergency services are on board. The main people with Bike Across Kansas have turned in their cell numbers, so they will be alerted if there's any emergencies or anything like that. They'll mostly be staying at the high school, but at the roadside park, the city park, and all the motels and all the lodging in town is booked. So hopefully this will be a good thing for the businesses and the nonprofit organizations like mine that need some more money. The other thing is that we've been working on a proposed land and sky scenic byway. We are just now waiting for a signature from the Secretary King of the Department of Transportation for that to be official. Once that is done, then we begin a lot of work on that. This last week, we worked on a brochure for the 3 counties, which we need funding for that, and we'll have asked Carol to write a grant to the Dane Hansen Foundation to pay for that. She'll be writing, 3 different ones and submitting them to each one of the counties for funding through the Dane Hansen grant. We submitted information this last week to the State Tourism Office for the website, which they're paying for that. Kansas Byway Magazine had a photographer out last week that was taking pictures throughout the county to put in that publication, and also for Kansas Magazine. I'm waiting for the Department of Transportation to come in, and they're going to check the right-of-ways for signage. We will have signs on the byway every 10 miles. And we did receive a grant last year to redo the signage and the painting at the St. Francis Roadside Park. This will include information throughout the county. The Thresher Show will be on there, as well as the Rickory Breaks and whatever else. We're not going to put any businesses on there because, as you know, sometimes we don't have businesses, and that's the problem we have with the signage right now. I did check with the state, and they have a Kansas State Level 3 weather-protected kiosk, and with some alterations to that building, mostly moving a sign to one side and putting an information booth for brochures in there, signage on top, and 2 signs on the highway. We would qualify for that. It doesn't have to be manned or anything. We have to put state information in there, but we'd also have a place to put our local brochures. Right now, we don't have any place in the county that is open all the time for travelers to stop. The rest area is there. There's bathrooms, so it'd be a perfect place. So we're working on that. In order to pay for that, there again, I'm going to ask Carol is going to write a grant for the Dane Hansen Foundation, either through the money coming into the communities or directly to pay for that. And I just found this out last week, so I don't have the cost of what that's going to be, but there's no cost to us if we can get the grant. One of the kind of unexpected things was that we knew that there would be a ribbon cutting when the byway is official by the state. We had kind of planned to have cake, and the state has kind of requested that the 3 counties get together and have some kind of a catered meal. So we're going to work on that, and I'm kind of thinking maybe more of a picnic kind of thing so that we keep the cost down on that. But we're going to be working on that. Currently, one of the things that are required of all the byways is they have a byway coordinator that keeps up on all the paperwork, all the changes, and everything that happens. Roxy Yonke is the person that we have chosen to do that. She works part-time for the CVB in Goodland, and she's willing to do that. The cost to that is between $500 and $1,000 a month. She's agreed to $500 a month to do that right now. I know the one in Wallace County that does their historic byway is receiving basically $1,000. But Roxy's willing to work with us, so that's great. So that's something that we're going to need funds for. Currently, Sherman County has committed $2,500 to the byway project, and their Convention and Visitors Bureau paid Chris Collier travel expenses to go to Great Bend to Goodland so we could sit and visit with her to write the corridor management plan. And there's also been some staff time there. And then I got a donation for $1,000 to pay to have that corridor management plan written. So we are going to need some funds. I think it would be good if each county, if there was funding available, to put in $2,500 to that. The other thing is that I'm going to ask some of the organizations if they would like to be a refreshment host or do a showcase up at the Travel Information Center. That's a low fee. One's $100, one's $150 a month. So we get more exposure for that. Also, the state has come out and they are very impressed with the Arickaree breaks. If you go to the Three Corners, you'll know that there's a picnic table out there. And so they wanted me to contact the landowner to see if they could put an informational kiosk out there. I've spoken with Roger Samler. He is very excited about this project. We'll do basically anything we can to help us along. The state would kind of like to have some kind of an easement or some kind of agreement with him to be able to officially use that area for 100 years or a lengthy period of time. He's willing to work with us. One of the problems that we've got is people like the signage that we have going out to the breaks, both if you leave on Benton Street or if you're going to the Three Corners. So as a result of that, the sign that where you turn off to go to the Three Corners is missing. So I went out the Sunday before last to put a sign up in my car, and that has washed out enough that I figured I'd get stuck. Since it's a county project that the Cheyenne County has been promoting for, I have no idea how many years, I was wondering if it would be possible for the county road department to maybe grade that portion where it's washed out. And that is on private property.
It is on private
It is on
property.
private property. So this is a definite exception to the rule, but I thought I would ask. If not, we'll go another route.
I don't know how much an area that would be. We'd have to have Jave look at that and see if he could cost it out. And let's
We try to stay away from the private
investigate
property
that
stuff.
and table it for now.
Okay. And there's a big push on the byway also to promote agriculture. So we've got about 6 businesses that are willing to do tours, which I think is great. They're very excited about this project. I'm hoping that this will bring traffic to our area, maybe enhance what we already have, and also encourage some people to come move here and maybe start some other agriculture products. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. That's all I have.
When did you get Jave?
In the other department, there is a little slack right now. We could do an number transfer and give her some additional money for the byways project, but we have to come to an agreement on that.
So you'd
Let
need
me pull up the book here.
8,500 is what you'd need. The donation of 2,500 and then 500 a month comes to 6. Is that correct?
Yes, but like I said, and part of it is that we would also, we're trying to do some other funding. Some of the things that I'm doing is I'm involved with the Healthy Communities Initiative, so I'm doing reporting. That's bringing another $3,600 into the office. We're about $10,000 short of what we want to do. We also, we're doing a community education demonstrations for $1,500 times 3. I have to pay for a cook, supplies, and the moving of the equipment around on there. And then we have a bushels of grain program that we're also working on. So, hopefully that will help some of it, but we will probably need some additional funding for it. This is just a thing that's coming up. This is just informational things there. And then the Highway 36 magazines are
These
also
for
out.
you? funding, Brent, city recycling, we kicked that up this year because we knew there was going to be an increase. I believe we have paid the total bill for the year. Is that correct, for city recycling? That's a one-time bill?
I would have to go back and look and make
Okay.
sure.
Well, we don't have to make the decision today, but right now, there's a positive balance of 14,400. We could transfer the 2005 to her account, which was within the same department. So it's a line item transfer.
And that would be a match for the, like what Sherman County did for
Yeah.
the donation. And then where does the Roxy Yonking $500 a month come out of?
That's funding that we need to raise. Like I said, I'm hoping that we can take some out of my budget if we're successful with our fundraisers. And the CVB and Sherman County is doing the same thing. And I'm not sure where Wallace County is with this right now. So any of those costs need to be split between the three counties.
The other option, Brett, we would have is under regional recycling. And again, I could be wrong, but I thought that was a final bill. And there's a balance of 8,800 on that.
Okay. Well, we need to find out if we've got.
For those
if-
two, yeah.
If we finally paid it, paid it full, then,
We'll find out from the two entities and then let you know.
Okay, all right. Thank you for your time.
Transfer. 22.4 is what that totals.
Pardon?
22.4 is what that totals.
Yeah.
So. Reed, you're up, bud.
Good, how are you guys?
Good.
Probably got mine with the scribble.
That's fine. Do you want
No,
this one back? Okay.
it only has one note on
Okay.
it. All right, for old business, part-time pay for after-hours departmental meetings. I'm just coming back to that to see. I think if I'm not mistaken, that we have to pay our part-time wage for those meetings.
I think employment, legally, yes. If it's a mandatory meeting, then,
It wouldn't be mandatory.
okay. It's not a mandatory
No.
meeting?
We don't have anything that says that they have to come to the meeting.
What's the consequence if they don't come to the meeting?
There isn't one.
Okay. Then that's more of a policy decision. If it's a
Okay.
mandatory meeting.
No, it's not.
We would be legally required to pay for that. If it's non-mandatory, that is a policy decision on your guys' part.
We have not been paying that. Am I correct?
I think years ago that people that came to the departmental meetings got $10. It was a flat $10, and
Just a flat fee, no
yeah, a
matter
flat
how long they were
amount.
there.
I guess my
And
I don't know.
I'm not willing to incur additional costs.
Currently, we haven't been paying at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that one, because when we have to have additional meetings, we don't get paid. It's
Yeah.
kind of one of the deals that we
Yeah.
have to be there, so I would have to agree with Commissioner Radcliffe on that.
Okay. The memorial donation account, this is just an update. We found out in order to open the bank account, we need an employer identification number to do that. So in order to have one of those, we'll have to form a nonprofit organization to get that. we'll ask the local attorneys if anybody would be willing to help us with that. Is that a conflict of interest for you?
Let me add this on my to-do list. We'll follow up.
The Kansas set-off accounts, there's 35 accounts with a total dollar amount of $22,520 out there. These are from debts from 2008 to 2013. We talked about this briefly last time, and what I'd like to do is just wait on those accounts until we get our current backlog processed from being on our Medicare hold, get everything current so we don't have a timely filing issue with current stuff. And then when we get our credit card machine and are able to take credit cards, at that point we could send out a notice to these people, because some of them haven't been contacted for, since 2008. And I know last time you said go ahead and send them to collections, but what would you think of giving them one letter saying give them 30 days before we send them to collections? Just because I know they haven't been contacted in
I think
years.
that's a really good idea.
Okay.
Do you want me to, do you have a letter idea? Do you want me to send out some of the collection? Because I do collection letters
Yeah.
for.
Why don't you draft it?
Okay, so send you a collection letter, and it'll
Yep.
be really basic.
Yep, just
How
the
many
generic
Are
one.
we talking about? How many
Just a
accounts?
35.
Okay, but I'm going to do one.
Yeah,
here.
generic,
Okay.
yeah.
And then at that point, if they do offer to make a payment, we do have the capability of accepting the credit card or the debit card. I don't know if that'll make any difference, but we didn't have that option before. Under new business, staffing changes, Wendy White has accepted the full-time position with the Heart and Stroke Collaborative. What that results for EMS is, well, first of all, let me explain what that'll do to her status. Basically, it won't change anything except we can bill the Heart and Stroke Collaborative for her additional time. That will decrease her on-call availability. I had a conference call with them last week to discuss what would actually take place. They're more than willing to work with us on transfers and things like that. If she's willing to make up that time that she's out of the office due to a transfer, and she said she would be. There's no current employment status changes. She's just moving from one grant to another grant.
So it doesn't change anything with the actual.
With the
duties before,
county.
But where the money is
Right,
coming from.
right.
Okay.
As far as duties performed, though, I did ask them, I want an updated job description on her.
Okay.
And they said they'd get that to me this week.
Through the actual grant.
Yes, through the grant. And then we can incorporate that into her county job description.
Okay.
And Reed, can I just take?
Oh, sure.
The impact of that is there is a zero match at county level for her. Her position is 100% grant funded, including her benefits.
Oh.
So,
This will create an opening for a half full-time on the MIH grant, which I've talked to our coordinator about seeing how she wants to fill that. It also leaves a hole with EMS responsibilities that Wendy was doing because of being half-time with the MIH grant. And those responsibilities are this list back here. We have an electronic system that I keep track of everybody's tasks. So these are Wendy's current tasks with EMS that I would like a motion to bump Dee Wilson up an additional 8 hours a week to assume those.
How many hours a week is she getting currently?
Dee?
Yeah.
16.
16.
So we'd be bumping her up from 16 to 24.
Okay.
I did talk to her. She has the time to do that because she no longer works for the hospital.
Okay. What is per hourly rate on that?
She's 12,
12 an hour?
so it's roughly $100 a week.
When do you want to send those collection letters out, just so I can give myself a deadline to get back to you?
You know, if we'd send them out the end of the month,
Okay.
give them all of July, we could turn them over then in August. That would work, if that works for you.
Yep. So just get it to you. Are you talking end of June?
Yeah.
Okay.
How's your budget looking? Can your budget handle an increase of $100 a week?
If we can't tap into any of the income, no.
Okay. What's your thoughts, Randy?
And if you want to wait until we talk about restructuring too, I mean, that kind of falls into restructuring. If we're, depending on what we're doing there, that might be assumed by somebody else or something else. Should we go back to that? I'd be fine with that.
Okay, we'll go back to that.
Mileage tracking compliance. Medicare regulations state that an ambulance must have an onboard mileage tracker capable of tenths of a mile accuracy for billing purposes. Currently, 2 of our 4 ambulances don't track to tenths of a mile. They track to whole miles. I'm looking at options for GPS mileage trackers that'll track that. They don't look like they're going to cost anywhere close to $500. But I did want to bring that up since it's a compliance issue.
Okay. And you only need 2 of those?
Yeah, the other ones, the odometer tracks to tenths of a mile. And then to purchase that, I do need a credit card, so I was just wondering where we're at with those again.
We just signed the contract today, so.
The resolutions were signed today, and so that contract will be taken to the credit card agency. Yeah.
So
Should be
any
pretty soon.
soon? Okay.
They were saying 7 to 10 days, Reed.
Oh, great. So this month?
Hopefully.
Well, it's the end of the month.
It's June. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
And then under, the last thing I have to discuss is restructuring. What are we going to do? The calendar for the call schedule for June, there's 12 shifts that St. Francis won't have coverage.
I talked to 2, I made 1 phone call, and Melody Knut, is it Knutson?
Yeah, I think so.
Will do weekends, and Stephanie Yarborough would do weeks. But we're going to have to talk as a board to find out how we're going to compensate mileage, and there may be a boarding issue. But that would be one way, because right now our budget is really, really tight. So we're going to have to make some pretty serious decisions, and I would like to see if we can't tap into some outside resources as far as EMTs to stay afloat with this and not have to burden the taxpayers anymore, is what I would like to do. Gentlemen, what do you think?
I think we ought to continue working the issue.
You know, so there's 12 spots.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tomorrow night will be your first shift.
Tomorrow night. Yes.
You had asked me to contact Michael Johnson with Light Team, and I have been having conversations with him about coming up here and looking at the county. The information that he asked, he said, I think, we talked about how the county is structured and everything.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I think it's completely doable, but
Right.
He has scheduled a time on
Right.
the June 15th agenda.
Right. That was the absolute last resort.
Okay.
What I would like to do is contact the surrounding counties, try to fill in the spots, get some EMT training coming, get some people trained. That way we don't have to incur any more tax dollars, is what, we were contacted from an outside source. And you probably knew that.
Yeah.
And we don't want to lose our EMT program. You guys are doing a great job. What we've got to do is we've got to try to fill in these spaces. Because right now, our budget will not allow us to do any of the options. So I will get you these 2 girls' phone numbers. I will also maybe contact Chrissy Livengood and see if there's any other EMTs, because my understanding